Hello, happy Sunday. I'm kind of hoping that tonight my sound is on. So if you're watching and the sound is on, give me a thumbs up, please. Okay, unless I get notified otherwise, I have a topic tonight which I get asked a lot, and it's simply about liposuction for lipedema and surgery, because that's kind of the ultimate way of fixing it. So we hear, so we keep getting told, right? So I hear it all the time, and I had this question just yesterday again. So I thought, okay, let's chat about this again. Liposuction is a tricky thing, and yes, while it can remove lipedema fat from the places where we can't diet and exercise it away, it's not as simple as that. Okay, so you can have it removed. However, if you are not following an anti-inflammatory diet, a pure diet, if you're not keeping your hormones level, so your thyroid's up and down, your sugars are all over the place, it can grow back. Okay, so that's the key thing here. So there's two ways of looking at liposuction for lipedema and the surgery that comes along with it. And the first one is, thank you. The first one is that liposuction's hard. We look at these outcomes because everybody shows you the before and the after. You know, like my thumbnails of all my videos are my before, my gastric sleeve surgery to now after I've even had a lower body lift. So we see this and go, oh my God, you know, it's great. It's amazing. We can do it. Let me tell you the truth about these surgeries. They hurt. And while you might go, yeah, of course they hurt. We have this thing about liposuction. I think when it first started becoming a thing, liposuction was touted as something that you could have in your lunch hour and go back to work. Well, liposuction for lipedema, if you want to have your eyes wide open about it being a possibility for you in the future, I recommend you follow some of the lipedema Instagram pages or groups. There's probably groups on Facebook from Turkey and Germany, because they give you the whole ugly truth of it. They show the pain, the blood, the seeping, the pus, all the things. Okay. So while liposuction might be an answer, if you're adverse to a lot of pain, and I mean a lot of pain, if you're adverse to leaking limbs and things like that while it's in the healing process, it may not be for you, because not everybody can cope with that kind of thing. Okay, and the pain perspective. So when I had my arms, right, so I've had my upper arms done, you can still see the loose skin on my lower arms, but the upper arms, I think it's on this one, under here somewhere, and you can't see it now because it's been a year and a half. But the surgeon did liposuction and skin removal surgery because my arms were literally kind of down here somewhere. And those points that were left from the liposuction that weren't cut away in the skin removal process, they hurt more than anything else for months and months, to the point that I could not rest my elbow on a bench without getting a bit of a, oh, yeah, that's right. I had that surgery done. Nothing else hurt, but the liposuction points did. I have a friend who also had it and said under the chin, that was the thing that hurt the most of the whole process. So liposuction hurts, and it hurts for a long time. So you see these before and after photos and pictures and testimonials, and while they are accurate, they don't always portray the pain of the actual process. So that has to be taken into account if you struggle with dealing with the pain. And many women with lipedema have a higher pain, not threshold, it's a lower pain threshold, because the sensitivity, they've done studies on it, and the sensitivity is higher. So a person without lipedema's 4 out of 10 pain. For a lipedema person might be 8 out of 10. So that has to be taken into account, honestly, when you're considering such a surgery, because this could be a pain that you've got to cope with for 6 months. Can you do that with your lifestyle? Can you do that with everything else that you have to do? So it's really, it's easy to say, oh yeah, of course it's going to be painful. It's a surgery. But the liposuction part of it is a bit of a surprise, because I know for me, I've had in my head all these years, oh no, you can just pop in and have liposuction at lunchtime and head back to work. Whether that's true for any other kind of liposuction, I don't know, but definitely for lipedema liposuction, no, it is not. Okay, so that's the starting point. It's messy, it's yucky, it's painful. Yes, it might be an answer. Okay, so that's hard. And this is one of those cases of choose your hard. Okay, so that's hard. It's hard living with lipedema, and this might be an answer. But now let's look at what happens after you've had the liposuction. Is it an answer forever? Okay, and no, it is not. It is a way to set the slate clean again in your body, which is what it's doing. It's kind of like, let's dig it all out. Let's get rid of all that liposuction, all the lipedema fat and nodules that is in there, and you're starting again. But we have not removed the root cause, which is leaky lymphatics and hormones out of control and potentially diet and lifestyle. So that has not been addressed in that surgery. So unless you've addressed that kind of thing before the surgery, it will grow back, because the root cause of why it's happening hasn't been changed in the surgery. All it's done is it's taken away what's existing there now, leaving a clean slate for any new stuff to come in if your hormones continue to be out of control, if you continue to eat a diet that's high in processed foods, seed oils, omega-6s, that kind of thing. If your hormones are out of control, your sugars are out, your thyroid's going up and down, you're high stress, so lots of cortisol running through your body, anywhere where there's hormones and they're not stable, will grow back the lipedema if you've got progressive lipedema. If you have had the same looking or stage and type of lipedema for 40 years, you might be 60 and you've looked the same for 40 years. Odds are you don't have a progressive form of lipedema. So potentially for you, having liposuction and remaining in the same diet and lifestyle, it may not come back. Might be great, but it may as well, because having surgery can alter hormones and change stress levels and that kind of thing. So that's hard too. So changing your life and doing the hard things when it comes to diet and lifestyle, that is hard. That is just as hard as the lipedema, as the liposuction. But if you change those things first, you have a sense of control, and you know that you've managed to, I've cut out all the seed oils. I'm having a low carb diet. I am moving my body so my lymphatics are great. You're doing all the things, and you've got the opportunity and the finances to do the liposuction, and you've done the inner emotional work that I always talk about, no matter what it is, whatever floats your boat, then go ahead and have the liposuction and go into it with your eyes wide open, knowing it's going to be hard. It's going to be just as hard as it was changing your diet, except this is going to be more of a physical sensation. Okay, down the track, then you can go, oh, wow, amazing, right? I look at my arms and I think, I never thought in a million years, if you've seen any of my previous videos, that my arms could ever look normal. Didn't think for a second. But I had to go through all those phases. I had to go through the gastric sleeve that changed my hormones and my thyroid in some way that I lost the weight. I had to go through the hardness of the surgery and the pain of 6 months at least afterwards of not being able to rest, and that's just my elbow, not being able to rest that on a desk without that hurting. Imagine your legs, okay? That's a whole other ball game. And certainly for my legs, so while I've had my lower body lift and my face done here in Bangkok, I'm probably looking at Turkey, as that's also medical tourism like here in Bangkok, but they do specialize in lipedema. I wouldn't be able to afford Germany. They're the leaders in this kind of surgery. That's probably beyond me, but who knows? We don't know what's around the corner. Might manifest something there. But I have to, and I'm not even sure I'm going to do that yet, because I've seen what these women go through, the pain, and I've had a little taste of it in other areas of my body. So I'm still sitting on the fence on that one. But in the same time, I watch these groups, I Google things, I YouTube things, because in the meantime, I want to have in my head an understanding of, if I do this, what's involved. I don't want to go there like I've read in some of these pages and threads where people, some women have been absolutely come out the other end going, I had no idea it was going to be like this. And it's just, they've ended up with traumas from it, emotional traumas. And I'm all about making sure we deal with our emotional traumas. So I don't want to have them to begin with. I want to know exactly what I'm up for. But the bottom line is, if you're not prepared to change your diet, to change your lifestyle, to support ongoing health of your lymphatics in the way that we can, because they don't know exactly how to fully fix this, we're going with what they've got at the moment. And it's the basic lymphatic rules. It's moving. It's not having high omega-6s. It's not having processed foods. It's, keeping our sugars low so that, our insulin isn't doing this, which is our fat storing hormone. So if we can get ourselves to that point where we know that 80% of the time we're eating a high protein, fairly clean diet, we're cooking from scratch ourselves, we're not using seed oils to cook our food in. If we can get to that point and we know that we're moving our body every day in whatever way that is comfortable for us, and is not such a big deal, So it might be that you've walked every day, but you've hated every second of it because you've walked around the shopping center and you're worried people are staring at you. Well, then that might rise your cortisol more than it's helping your lymphatics. So whatever movement you do has to be a kind that you're comfortable with and that you don't feel judged about from other people, so that you can use that movement as a way to help your lymphatics, not as a way to raise your cortisol. So doing those things, if you've got them nailed, by all means, keep researching the liposuction, keep researching the surgery, even if you can't afford it at this point. I'm constantly watching it, thinking about it. That's how I've done everything since gastric sleeve. And I was watching a video a couple of days ago where I was chatting with somebody else. It was an interview, and it was June of 2022. And I could tell by the way I was talking, what I was talking about. Gastric sleeve wasn't even on my radar at that point, and I had it in October. So June, July, August, September, October. So 4 months beforehand, it wasn't even on my radar. So, but after that, from the minute I had gastric sleeve, even though I was thinking, I don't know if this is going to work because nothing else has worked, I was still in the groups watching the skin removal surgery, because in my head I was like, if this works for me, I'm going to have a lot of loose skin. I'm nearly 55. I was not fooling myself to think my skin was going to go and pop back to place. It just wasn't going to happen. So I just watched and watched. And then when the time came, suddenly it became an opportunity that I could go ahead with. And everything kind of aligned, and I'd already watched these different things, and I knew the surgeon I wanted, and I knew what I needed to do. And because of it, since then, so I had the arms done in 2024, April 2024. So nearly 2 years. Okay, so nearly 2 years. And so far my arms are still great. There's a little bit of overhang on the back, and I've got to go back and see if that was like that right from the get-go, because I'm not sure. But I'm constantly watching my arms. I measure myself really regularly, because that will soon tell me really quickly if things are changing, if I'm putting lipedema fat back on. Because particularly the scales are steady. The scales have gone down since my last surgery, and I'm now at the lowest I've ever been, and except for before my thyroid kicked it in when I was 21, but I'm very close to that. So it's measuring tape that tells me exactly what's happening if I've gone astray or eaten foods I shouldn't have for a little while, or, visitors have come here to visit Bangkok and off we go. So those times are going to happen in your life. So it's up to us to track them and to keep an eye on them and get ourselves back on the straight and narrow, because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else knows the heartache of this disease. So it is truly up to us. So I am an advocate of liposuction and surgery if it's available to you, only if you've done the work beforehand, you've changed your diet and lifestyle, you've done the emotional work to prepare yourself for such a big thing, and you go in with your eyes wide open of how hard the surgery will be and the recovery period. So that's my take on liposuction. I keep going to say lipedema because it's both lippy words. All right, so if you have, you look amazing, so worth what you've been through. How much weight did you lose with the skin removal surgeries? It's really interesting because right after surgery, if you're still watching, you get to hear this. Right after the surgery, and I've got the photos, it's so funny. They say straight away, do you want to see your fat? This must be a Thailand thing. They had the bags with my stomach cut out on the floor, ready to show me my bags of fat. And I was like, how much does that weigh? Because they were huge bags. They were massive bags. And the front section, I think she said, oh God, now I've got to remember, it was about 3 kilos. Maybe it was 2 kilos. And then the two back sections, each side of the back section, because I had the lower body lift right round, were about 1 kilo and 1 point something each. So, but it's funny, when I got out of hospital, I'd only gone down 1 kilo or something, but I was still really, really swollen. And so now, since just before surgery, when I took all my stats, I'm down 6 kilos from then. So, and I put on this dress, and this dress was actually tight on me. So I don't really want to lose more weight up here. And I don't know why I'm losing weight here, because it was around my tummy that I had it taken. So not sure about that. And I'm not sure. I know for 3, so where am I at? I'm 4 weeks, I'm 5 weeks from having my tummy done, and I'm 4 weeks from my face. And I know for 3 weeks of that, only in the last probably a week ago was I able to start chewing steak again and things without it hurting. So that was like a sudden, I can eat without it hurting. So I probably lost a little bit of weight there, maybe because I was, pretty much eating soup and a lot of things I couldn't eat without a bit of pain. So enforced diet there, right? And I was doing everything I could. And this is the thing with surgery. There's pain involved and you're going to have to get through it. So I did things like make myself meat patties and stuff like that, but even they were hard to chew. So I pretty much lived off eggs and soup was my diet for a few weeks there. So maybe that contributed to losing weight up here. I don't know. But now I'm back to being able to chew a good old piece of meat, which is my wheelhouse. I'm pretty happy about that. So I don't know. And it's still sort of creeping down. So I don't know where it's going to land. Don't know why suddenly it's changing now, but I have read by a lot of the stomach area has lymphatic vessels in it and lymphatic fat, right? So when lipedema fat. So when they remove that, it removes a lot of inflammation as well. So whether or not my body as a whole is reducing in inflammation because such a vast amount of lipedema fat was removed, not quite sure, but I'm just watching with curiosity and interest. That's it. That's all you can do. And I'm continuing to do the hard work. I'm still being human. I'm still, having the treats, but for the most part, and this is what I always say, if 80 to 90% of your day, you can be clean and pure. But also I let myself have treats for the most part because I'm not in pain. My inflammation's down. I'm healing well, but the only thing I can feel now, 5 weeks down the track from the surgeries, is a bit of pulling here. There's still There's still tension at the lower of my face. There's still tendons and stuff that are pulling. But that's it. It's not painful. It's like somebody's pulling me down here. That is all I've got left in the way of pain and that sort of thing. So if I had sore knees, that's always a giveaway for me that I'm eating things I shouldn't be. So if my knees were hurting, if I was in pain, if I didn't want to go for a walk, and we do some pretty mega walks lately. We do 10,000 steps in a hit at the end of the day, which is about an hour and a half around our park. So if I didn't want to do that, if all of those things, if I was seeing myself go, oh no, I can't do that, it hurts too much, oh no, I can't do that, bruises coming out again, then even the treats, I'd be pulling my head in going, oh no, look, and the trusty tape measure, right? If my measurements were going up, again, the treats would get thrown out the window. So it's kind of, I have that balance now because I've done so much hard work leading up to now. So because of that, I can now have treats without too much of a problem. But I did the really full-on hard work first. And that's the same with liposuction. Liposuction might be the best thing since sliced bread for us. And thank God there's something we can do. But if we don't do the hard work leading up to it and continue to do the hard work in the healing process and find our balance, that's where I'm at. I've found my balance of what I can get away with, what I can eat, what I can enjoy, without having any after effects. That's where I'm at, and that's where I want you to be at. So before you consider liposuction, ask yourself some very serious questions about where you're at with diet and lifestyle, and ask yourself, are you looking for liposuction as a quick fix? Because we naturally all want it. I get it. That's not a judgment or a criticism in any way. We all want it. We all want it gone. We all want it done. We've lived this with this thing for our life, for our whole lifetime. And, it sucks. It really sucks. So I'm all for it. Do the hard work first. Do the emotional work. And if you have any questions around this, feel free to contact me. I think down in the description, there's like a link to email me if you don't want to ask questions on a YouTube channel. That's fine, but feel free to ask me anything you like about this, because this is really important for you to get your head around. I would love for you to have liposuction if you're in that situation, but I'd also love for you to have it in a way that it's sustainable and the lipedema fat is gone forever. That's the point, right? So, all right, have a great week, everybody. I have got a huge week ahead of me, and I'm so looking forward to it. Lots of fun things ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.